Welcome to Classic Filters Filter School, Standard SM Series Membrane Housing, Servicing and Membrane Replacement Part 2. We're now ready to service the membrane housing. Before we even touch it, we have to make sure that there's absolutely no pressure in the system whatsoever. So go back, check all of your valves. If you've got pressure gauges on the system, check the pressure gauges, make sure they're all at zero. Or if there's nothing there that you can be sure that the system's dead, the best thing to do, just release one of the fittings just to see if there's any fluid comes out. If fluid does come out and continues to come out for a period of time, the system is still live. Close the fitting off, go back and find out what's gone wrong. Once you're absolutely happy that the system has got no pressure in it whatsoever and nothing's come out of the fitting, we're now ready to service the filter housing. Even if the housing is on a bracket and fairly well supported, still grip it tight, then twist the cap off. It should come undone with a little bit of effort. If it won't come undone, put a strap wrench around the outside or a spanner across the two flats and release the cap. It'll come undone, but make sure that as you undo it, that you're very careful, because the plug could come out at the same time that the cap comes off. Now this one stayed in there, so that's okay. Don't just put the cap down onto the ground or onto a bench. Get yourself a clean bit of cloth or a piece of paper, put the cap in it, and then take the plug out and do exactly the same thing with that. Don't put it down on the ground or the bench, but put it down on your clean bit of paper or cloth. When servicing filter housings, it's always best to have the right equipment, and for this purpose we have our housing service kit, which contains all the bits you need: a brush, a O-ring pick, a set of instructions, a lint-free cloth and a pot of silicone grease. Silicone grease can be bought separately and is available in a couple of sizes of pots if you so require. All of the replaceable parts are contained within the plug, so we'll have a look at taking it apart and putting it back together. Take your pick, just flick the O-ring out. Try not to touch the metal at all, as you may damage the O-ring groove. Take the old membrane off, discard it, drop the disc out and place it somewhere clean and safe. Now if you want to take the main O-ring off, just slide the pick underneath it, don't use any force at all, just lever it off and it just comes off ever so easily, and throw it away. Taking a nice clean bit of cloth, give everything a good clean round. In the groove, that's it, all the way around there, and in the main groove. Make sure there's no dirt in there. Just clean it out, that's it, and then just give it a quick check in both of those two grooves just to make sure it's all okay. Now taking your new O-ring, just slide it over the top and it just pushes over like that. Take your disc, make sure it's clean, drop it into its slot, make sure it goes in flat and level and it's in properly. Now we're ready to replace the membrane. Now be very careful with these because they're very delicate. Just take them out ever so gently, and I just like to slide it over the plug like so. Just drop it in and then just make sure that it's central with the O-ring groove. There we go. Take the O-ring, same thing, make sure it's central with the O-ring groove. Just pop it on and then push it home gently all the way round, and that way you won't crease the membrane. And there we go, it's all ready to go. We're now ready to reassemble the membrane housing. So our first job is to make sure that the housing is perfectly clean inside. So taking a clean bit of paper, clean off the back face and round the inside of the housing. These are the two seal faces and we have to make sure they're perfectly clean and we've got nothing stuck there, nothing marking it, anything. Then we do the same with the thread. Give it a good clean off, make sure there's no marks or dents, Nothing that's going to stop the housing from screwing together properly. So taking the plug that you assembled earlier, we now just need to give it a quick grease up. The only O-ring that needs any grease on it is the main O-ring at the back. Don't grease the front O-ring, it doesn't need it. Then lining the flats up with the lugs on the housing, push it in, and we're now ready to take a look at the cap. Again, we need to look at the inside of the cap to make sure that there's no dirt or no marks on the inside of the thread. Give it a good wipe round, make sure there's nothing in there, check the thread as well, make sure we haven't marked it in any way. So the next thing is a light grease just around the inside, just like that. If you haven't purchased the grease from us already, this is the grease that we use. It's a very high grade silicone grease. Take the cap and screw on. If the cap won't go on, don't force it. Take the cap back off and find out what's gone wrong, because the cap should screw down really easily. As you can see, it takes a little while, but it does go on quite easy. Then as soon as we get it down onto the body, give it a good nip up, and that's all it needs. Go around, make sure all of your fittings are done up nice and tight. Once you're happy that that's all okay, you're ready to power the system up. Give the housing a good wipe off. Check for any leaks, and this only occurs around the joint between the cap and the body. Once you're happy that's all done, you have now serviced the simplest filter housing on the market, the Classic Filters SM filter housing. I hope you've enjoyed watching this filter training video. If you need any of the products shown, use the link in the description below or visit www.classicfilters.com. Don't miss any of our filter training videos. Simply click the subscribe button above this video or visit our YouTube channel www.youtube.com/classicfilters. Finally, if you have a question or if there is a particular product or procedure you would like covered in our next video, please put it in the comments below. Oh, and please don't forget to like this video.